Question 1. A company wants to migrate a legacy application that stores its data on a Windows network file share to Azure. The application requires concurrent access to the file share from multiple Azure virtual machines using the Server Message Block (SMB) protocol without significant code changes. Which Azure storage service is the most appropriate solution? Option A, Azure Blob Storage. Option B, Azure Disk Storage. Option C, Azure File Storage. Option D, Azure Table Storage. The correct answer is Azure File Storage. Here's the explanation. Azure File Storage is a fully managed, cloud-based file share service that allows you to create network file shares accessible via the industry-standard Server Message Block (SMB) protocol. This is ideal for lift and shift scenarios for applications that rely on file shares. Question 2. You are managing an on-premises file server and want to leverage Azure File Storage for cloud tiering, multi-site synchronization, and disaster recovery, while still providing local file access to users. Which Azure service enables this hybrid capability? Option A, Azure Backup. Option B, Azure Storage Explorer. Option C, Azure File Sync. Option D, Azure Data Box. The correct answer is Azure File Sync. Here's the explanation. Azure File Sync, AFS, is a powerful hybrid capability that allows you to centralize your organization's file shares in Azure Files while maintaining the flexibility, performance, and compatibility of an on-premises file server. It enables multi-site synchronization, cloud tiering, and disaster recovery. Question 3. For SMB shares in Azure File Storage, which authentication method is recommended for granular, role-based access control and integration with existing user identities? Option A, Shared Access Signatures, SAS. Option B, Storage Account Access Keys. Option C, Anonymous Access. Option D, Identity-Based Authentication with Azure ADDS or On-Premises ADDS. The correct answer is Identity-Based Authentication with Azure ADDS or On-Premises ADDS. Here's the explanation. For SMB shares, Azure Files integrates with Azure Active Directory Domain Services, Azure ADDS, and On-Premises Active Directory Domain Services, ADDS, for identity-based authentication, allowing granular, role-based access control, RBAC, to file shares. Shared Key Access provides full administrative access and is less secure for general use. Question 4. A web application frequently performs long-running image processing tasks that can degrade its responsiveness. To improve user experience and application stability, the development team decides to offload these tasks to a back-end worker. Which Azure messaging service is best suited for this scenario to decouple the web front-end from the image processing back-end and enable asynchronous communication? Option A, Azure Event Hubs. Option B, Azure Service Bus Topics. Option C, Azure Queue Storage. Option D, Azure Redis Cache. The correct answer is Azure Queue Storage. Here's the explanation. Azure Queue Storage is ideal for decoupling application components and handling asynchronous, long-running tasks. The web application can quickly enqueue messages, image processing requests, allowing the back-end worker to process them independently without blocking the front end, thus improving responsiveness and stability. Event hubs are for streaming, Service Bus Topics for publish/subscribe, and Redis Cache for caching. Question 5. Which 3 characteristics are specific to Azure Queue Storage messages and their lifecycle? Option A, messages can be up to 1 megabyte, have a maximum retention of 30 days, and guarantee FIFO order. Option B, messages are limited to 64 kilobytes, can be retained for up to 7 days, and become invisible after dequeuing for a configurable period. Option C, messages are encrypted by default, support transactions across multiple queues, and are always delivered exactly once. Option D. Messages can be up to 256 kilobytes, have an unlimited retention period, and require explicit consumer acknowledgement for deletion. The correct answer is messages are limited to 64 kilobytes, can be retained for up to 7 days, and become invisible after dequeuing for a configurable period. Here's the explanation. Azure Queue storage messages have a strict size limit of 64 kilobytes, a maximum retention period of 7 days, and utilize a visibility timeout mechanism where a dequeued message becomes temporarily invisible to other consumers. FIFO order is not guaranteed, and delivery is at least once. Question 6. A consumer application processes messages from an Azure Queue storage queue. If the consumer application fails unexpectedly after dequeuing a message but before times deleting it, what is the default behavior of Azure Queue storage regarding that message? Option A. The message is immediately moved to a dead letter queue. Option B. The message is permanently lost and cannot be retrieved again. Option C. The message automatically becomes visible again in the queue after its visibility timeout expires. Option D. The message is returned to the queue, but its dequeue count is reset to 0. The correct answer is the message automatically becomes visible again in the queue after its visibility timeout expires. Here's the explanation. Azure Queue Storage implements an, at least once, delivery guarantee. If a consumer fails to delete a message before its visibility timeout expires, the message automatically reappears in the queue, making it available for another consumer, or the same one, to process, and its dequeue count is incremented. It is not immediately dead-lettered, that requires custom logic, or lost. Question 7. Which of the following best describes Azure Table Storage? Option A. A relational database service supporting complex SQL queries and joins. Option B. A NoSQL key-value store optimized for large amounts of semi-structured data, using partition key and row key as its primary key. Option C. A service designed for storing large, unstructured binary data like images and videos. Option D. A message queuing service for temporary storage of messages between application components. The correct answer is a NoSQL key-value store optimized for large amounts of semi-structured data, using partition key and row key as its primary key. Here's the explanation. Azure Table Storage is a schema-less NoSQL key-value store. It's ideal for flexible, semi-structured data and relies on partition key and row key for unique identification and efficient querying, unlike relational databases, blob storage, or queue storage. Question 8. When querying data in Azure Table Storage, what is the most efficient way to ensure optimal performance for large tables? Option A. Performing full table scans without specifying any keys. Option B. Using only the row key property in queries. Option C. Specifying both the partition key and row key in queries. Option D. Relying on complex joins between multiple tables. The correct answer is specifying both the partition key and row key in queries. Here's the explanation. Queries are most efficient when they leverage the partition key and row key, as they form the primary clustered index. Queries without the partition key will result in less performant full table scans. Table storage does not support complex joins. Question 9. An application needs to store millions of IoT device sensor readings, where each reading includes a device ID, timestamp, and various sensor values. The data needs to be rapidly ingested and queried by device ID and then by timestamp. Which Azure storage service is best suited for this scenario? Option A. Azure SQL Database. Option B. Azure Blob Storage. Option C. Azure Table Storage. Option D. Azure Queue Storage. The correct answer is Azure Table Storage. Here's the explanation. Azure Table Storage is ideal for this use case. The device ID can serve as the partition key and the timestamp as the row key, enabling highly scalable ingestion and efficient retrieval of specific device readings over time. SQL database is for relational data, blob storage for unstructured binary data, and queue storage for temporary messages. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.